Hi, this is Nathan, and welcome to Call for Salt. I'm actually back in my library. You've seen me in the last few videos kind of trying to push out a video while on a break at work or after work, if in my truck or after work in my car. And I've been really busy lately working. But I really have been following this election cycle. It's very important, as you know, as I'm sure you agree. And there's some exciting things happening. So I wanted to go over that, and I want to talk this time about the normies, the normal people across this country. And I believe that they're waking up to who Kamala Harris slash Tim Walz are. And the other thing I wanted to say is I realized that I'm talking probably to multiple audiences. My goal as a Christian is to speak to those in the church and evangelicalism, conservative Christianity, to stand up and speak out and to be the salt and light, and realize that politics, because of the issues that it is involved, especially culturally, it really matters for us to take a stand and for us to be the Esther that goes before the king, that appeals with the power that God has given us to appeal and to make a difference. And that would be vote, speak out. We are the Esthers and Mordecais of our country, of our time in history. I believe that with all my heart. Um, but I wanted to bring this and realize that there are more audiences. The reason why I say that is because I've been getting a lot of negative comments from other people. Obviously, on YouTube, anybody can see this and look at it, and I welcome all of those that disagree. I see you as a human being, therefore you have automatic value and dignity to me just as a human being. So I just want to start there and say, I hope that at the end of the day we can all come to agreement. I hope that you can see what I'm saying is very serious. And so I realize that there are a lot of you that are fans, and I'm getting a lot of comments and things from negative comments, which is fine. But I would love it if you could like and subscribe, show some more love. I would appreciate that if you're a fan, if you like what I have to say. Um, that would be great. That's all I'll say about that. But I want to realize that I'm addressing a couple different kinds of people. And some of you really do not like Trump. And so I would ask you to hang with me. Um, I'm really not I'm really not a person that hates you. I'm not a person that wants you out of the country or wants or whatever, but I do want to change your views. I do want you to see things, and I would say wake up to the big picture. The big picture. There's some things about Trump that we could all hate together on. We could all be upset about certain things he does, and I'm sure I can agree with you on some of those things. But at the end of the day, what's the big picture? What are we facing? What are the threats that we're facing? Can we agree on that? Can you listen? That's all I'm asking. So there's this famous saying. It's an old saying, so a lot of you may not have heard of it. But when there's some new thing, the question is, will it play in Peoria? Will it play in the middle country America, middle America? Peoria, Illinois is a mid-sized city that it's a lot of working class, a lot of normie people, and if it plays there, if it plays with the normal people, in other words, it's going to play anywhere. So will it play in Peoria? And I think that as people get to know Kamala Harris, as they get to know Tim Walz, as they get to know their campaign and what they're all about, I think that they're waking up and they're like, this is not going to play in Peoria. This will not play. The dam is breaking, I believe, and people are, the more they see of them, the more they hear of them, the more they don't like what they see and hear. For example, what is it with the laughter? Kamala Harris and her laughter. She's laughing about the most serious things. We're facing a serious election with serious consequences. Yet she laughs about everything, just about everything. She laughs about, there was, I mean, I'm just throwing out a couple examples because I've seen so many examples. You can go to Facebook videos and type in Kamala Harris laughter about it, whatever issues. One issue was she was talking at some campaign event, about her educators and teachers, and she was like, the educators, the more the parents get to know them, they realize the educators are so important. She's literally laughing like that through the whole thing and just losing it. And she's like, and they don't get paid enough. It's like, okay, what's so funny about that? I mean, isn't that a serious issue? But no, she just laughs hysterically. She laughed about the border and about not visiting the border when she was the border czar, when the media dubbed her as the border czar. She was put in charge officially by the President Biden of the border to oversee that. Yet she never went down to the border during that entire time. And then she laughed when she was asked about if she had been there. She's like, not today. It's, and I'm not trying to mock her unnecessarily, but this is satire to prove a point. I'm not good at it. I'm not saying that, but that's what she's doing. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just, is this person serious? Are they ready to be president? Has she had too much wine? Is she too tipsy all the time? What is it? I mean, there was a clip where she spoke to this is a couple years ago, where she was at an event in Poland, just standing next to the Polish president, and she was asked by the reporters over there if America was going to take in refugees from Ukraine, and she said, I mean, this is crazy. She looked over at the president of Poland and she literally said, a friend in need is a friend indeed. I can't cackle like her. I can't laugh like her. Mine's probably much worse. But she just started laughing. And guess what? She was the only one laughing in the room, because that's a very serious issue. Have been through war. They're suffering and they're refugees. They need to go somewhere. And she's like, really? She gives this old saying that everybody's heard, a friend in need is a friend indeed, and then starts laughing. Come on. Is this person, she's not ready to be president. You can go over and over, just multiple laughters over multiple things that are not funny. She just laughs, and she's not. It's like she doesn't take it seriously, her job. And then there's Tim Walz. She, as if she's goofy on one side, one way, and he's completely goofy and weird on the other way. He's the one that was pushing this whole weird thing to try to dub J.D. Vance, the vice presidential candidate for Trump, as weird. J.D. Vance came off as completely normal, confident, in control, convictional about what he believed in that debate. And you look how Tim Walz did. I mean, he's just all jerky and down and all over the place, and just said had some major gas. Like, I'm friends with I was friends with school shooters. He called himself a knucklehead to try to cover up for the fact that he lied about being in Tiananmen Square, being in China and in Tiananmen Square or Hong Kong or something when Tiananmen Square happened, and it actually was months later in the same year, and he lied about that, and he tried to, oh, I can be a knucklehead just like anybody else, like, kind of thing. Oh, I can be a knucklehead sometimes. He tried to laugh it off. And you look at his antics, his physical antics when he goes into an event like a rally. I mean, he's flailing his arms. He's like reaching out like he wants to give the audience a hug, and then he's like, oh, like this, oh, hugging himself, and then he's putting his arms up in the air and waving really loud, like they waved. You're right, but this huge goofy smile on his face, kicking his legs up in the air. I mean, this guy is like a kid in a candy shop that's high on sugar, coming back to the candy shop for more. I'm not kidding. This guy is. Look those clips up. Maybe many of you probably have seen it. This guy is out there, and she picks him. Thank God she picks him, because we don't need them anywhere near the White House. And so yet here's the contradiction. Simultaneously, while they're saying, oh, this is about, and this is their joy theme, right? It's all about joy. Kamala's joy theme, I think, is just something they chose to create positive vibes, to show they're positive on one side, but also to cover up for Kamala's crazy laughter, because they know that's not going to stop. She's going to keep being that way. So that's the joy, right? That's the positive. She's a positive person, and it's just completely comes off completely phony. It comes off contradictory, and yet on the same side, they're contradicting themselves and saying, "Oh, positive. Let's turn the page." Da, 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 da. And yet the contradiction is that, oh, well, we're in a somber situation. The stakes are high. Trump is an existential threat to democracy. Oh my goodness, we got to take this seriously. So which is it? The people are getting mixed messages all over the place from this campaign. They're a joke. They're an absolute joke. She just wants power. She wants the power, the perks, and just everything that comes with being the president and the pomp and the the glitter. She wants that. She wants the power to control our lives. She's a radical, and she's covering it up with her goofy laughter. She's flipping her all of a sudden last minute. She flips all of her positions. That's contradictions galore. She flips all of her positions and says, I'm for fracking. I'm not against my values, but fracking makes sense now. We need it. It's important because she wants to win Pennsylvania. She's like, all of a sudden she's for securing the border. When she ran against Joe Biden, she said we need to defund ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. She said that we need to have open borders. She ran on that, and now and she's was all forward and all part of Joe Biden's just opening the floodgates. Never spoke out against that, never pushed back, and all of a sudden now she wants to be tougher than Trump. No, she's covering it over. She's lying. She's flipping just to say the right thing to get elected. And so she is a radical. She's a San Francisco. She's not just liberal. She's a San Francisco radical. She's a socialist, and so is Tim Walz. Tim Walz and his wife. Just look up some of the crazy statements his wife has made. They went on their honeymoon to China. He's been there dozens of times. This guy's got an obsession with China. A little suspicious, little red flags if you ask me. So these people cannot be trusted. They're radical liberals. She talks about abortion like that's the biggest issue, yet she voted in Congress that the law that in the Senate that they tried to pass was a law not just to codify Roe v. Wade, it was to codify abortion all the way up to 9 months of pregnancy, under the exceptions of the health of the mother. So in other words, if the woman has mental, physical, or emotional health problems, she can say, she can be allowed to have an abortion. She can declare, basically for any reason that she wants, she doesn't feel healthy, she can have an abortion. That's how radical that bill was. It was only shot down by one Democrat senator, Joe Manchin, who's more pro-life than not pro-life. And he shot it down. It was that close though. And so Kamala Harris, she tries to talk about Trump, how he's a radical on abortion, being too pro-life or too restrictive on women. She's too oppressive to the babies. There any kind of abortion is, but she is just. Everybody knows that. Americans are all over the map on where we believe the restrictions should be, and a lot of people are pro-choice up to a certain point. We need to change that narrative. We need to educate people more about what abortion is, ultrasounds, development statistics, all of that. But at the end of the day, people are where they're at. So Trump's saying, "Hey, let the states decide." She's like, no, all the way to 9 months. And so is Tim Walz. It's just, they're the radicals. They're the ones that are oppressive to the babies, to human beings, innocent. So yeah, these are dead serious issues. And so on one hand, they're laughing. It's all about joy, fake joy, the joy ploy, I call it. But on the other hand, it's all serious. Trump is a threat to democracy. Oh my goodness. So what are the normies thinking about this? Well, they're looking back at the last 3.5 years, and they're seeing inflation has driven them to shoestring budgets, and they're barely affording groceries. They're having to cut back on what they buy. Hey, I'm buying Great Value brand all the time at Walmart. I can't go to Kroger anymore. I can't spend those kind of prices. I can't buy the name brands on anything, literally. That's where it's come to. Pretty soon we'll be eating mac and cheese if it gets too bad. Mac and cheese and ramen noodles. Welcome to the third world. Welcome to what we would live under if this just keeps going this way. Yet they want to turn the page. Turn the page from what? Turn the page. It's ridiculous. You want to turn the page, but yet she says on The View, I wouldn't do anything different than what Biden did. She literally said that. And she said, I for every impactful decision, I was a big part of that. Are you kidding me? So you're contradicting yourself. You're speaking out of two sides of your mouth every time you turn around, and people are seeing this. The normies are waking up. They're like, we've had, it's been rough the last 3.5 years, and the borders are wide open. They're pouring through with illegals. And that's a threat to our country. And that brings me to that point. They want to talk about What is a threat to democracy? They want to get all serious and talk about Trump being a threat to democracy. Talking about January 6th. January 6th, January 6th, January, that's all they talk about. January 6th, Trump said two things you need to know. Two things. And I have not heard this refuted by anybody because it's a fact. Two things. Trump told his protesters when they went to protest, he said, go peaceful and patriotically. Number two, Trump said, he requested to Nancy Pelosi, who is in charge of this decision, I think you might want to send a National Guard. You can send 10,000 National Guard troops to just guard because there's going to be a lot of people there, just to more security. She turned it down. So when you had that many people there and you had FBI informants or FBI agents that were trying to coax people to come into the Capitol, they riled up the crowd. The people were already upset. Good or bad, wherever you think about that, they broke some windows. They pushed over some police. They didn't kill anybody. They didn't have any weapons, but they got in and they protested. They sat in the desks or whatever they did. They didn't hurt any legislatures or anything. But that is somehow the worst thing that's ever happened when there is a litany of happenings and things that have happened against the right and against Donald Trump that are threats to democracy way more than that. Starting with Russia collusion. I'm going to list a few here. Russia collusion, 3.5 years of Trump's 4-year term. They made the Democrats, and I will beat this to the dead horse that it should not be. It should be a live horse. We should still be talking about this. But the FBI cooperated with Hillary Clinton and the Democrat Party, who paid for a fake dossier to frame Trump as a Russian agent. And they did this whole investigation, the DOJ, all these people involved, the top levels of DOJ and FBI all involved. And they tried to use it as a pretense to impeach and remove him from office. It was all found to be a hoax. The guy that did the report, Robert Mueller, hardly a Trump fan at all, investigates and says can't find any evidence. That entire time, that you want to talk about persecution, you want to talk about a threat to democracy, people that voted for Donald Trump, there was a duly elected president and they almost had their president taken away over lies, over weaponization of the deep state, that Obama had people in place. Obama started it. He had these people in place. He had this, text messages came out with him on there saying that he wants to be informed of all this going on. Text messages came, were very, very clear that this was a coup against the sitting president. That is a threat to democracy. The lawfare, a sitting president, Biden goes after his political opponent with multiple, his DOJ and cronies in New York City and Georgia and other places to try to take Trump down and put him in prison so he can't run against him. That is a threat to democracy. When that has never happened in history where they're going in America. This is not a banana republic. This is America. And Biden got away with it. He got away with it. That is a threat to democracy, and the media carried water for the whole thing. And also the lies of the media are just not just the lawfare, the lies of the media on all kinds of things. Just lie. They lied about Trump. All the lies about him being a rapist, or there was a civil suit where he was declared as a rapist. The lady that accused him had a liberal judge who accused him, and there was no physical evidence or anything, but she, when you're a billionaire and when you're a controversial figure, you're a target for people falsely accusing you for things like that. So you take this woman, you look at her interviews and things that she said on live TV, not just about Trump, but other things. She's crazy. She's batty. And to take her word and say, oh yeah, he's a rapist. The judge agreed with her, so therefore he's a rapist. It's just absolutely sickening that you would take that word, someone's word like that over that. So that, all of these things, I could go on and on about media distortions, lies, just all, we all know that. We all know them. But this is the issue. I think that is the most existential, urgent issue. It's the border. Why is the border so important? The border is important because it affects people's lives, literally their physical life. People are dying. I mean, it's that bad. We have child trafficking. 350,000. This is a report from the Border Patrol before Congress. They've lost track of 350,000 children that have crossed the border that have disappeared, and many of them have been trafficked, and no doubt many of them are probably dead. And the government, the Kamala Harris, all that, they don't seem to care. The media ignores it. Trump brought it out. I think Vance brought it out, but no one listens. This is a real issue. We want to talk about loving the immigrant. You Christian, you never Trump Christians, loving the immigrant. What about these immigrants? How about the drugs that are coming across the border? The cartels that are pushing fentanyl that's gone up hundreds of percent since Trump left office, since Biden did away with and nixed all of Trump's executive orders to close the border, to remain in Mexico policy, did away with that. It reinstituted catch and release. How crazy is that, to catch illegal immigrants and just like, well, we have so much to process, we'll just release you and here's a date to come to before court, and then they never show up. Of course they never show up. They cross the border illegally in the first place. It's just absolutely insane. There's no common sense here, but there is common sense to the Democrats, because what they're trying to do, and here's another threat to democracy, they're trying to create millions of people that later on they can give, instead of sending them back, they can give the right to vote. They can give them the right to vote. They can make them citizens, amnesty, and therefore, they've flown them to states all over the place, and that's illegal in and of itself. I mean, it just goes on and on. But they'll be if they're voting, then the Democrat Party is going to win just about every election. It's going to be a one-party state. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. You got 20 million people that you're going to give amnesty to, that are going to be just like, they're going to pay the Democrat Party. They're going to pay them back. They're going to be dependent on them. It's going to be their new slave class of people, basically, that are going to be dependent on them. And they'll bring socialism in so fast, you won't even be able to bat an eye. The things that they've already tried and they've come short just a couple votes are insane. Packing the court, things like that, changing our institutions, just because they want to change the rules because we have a conservative court where we had liberal courts for decades. It's just, they don't care. They'll do whatever they have to do. They'll break the laws. They'll lie. There's another vote that they made in Congress to try to do election reform. What is election reform? One of the key parts of the election reform was to not require photo ID. It was a federal reform, so all the states had to go by it, and they could not require photo ID. That way, illegal immigrants, whoever, can vote, and you don't know for sure if they're citizens. It's just like, how is that not a threat to democracy? How is the Democrat Party and what they're trying to do, how is that not the real threat to democracy? And here's the number one. We talked about crime. We talked about drugs and child trafficking. Here's a number one thing that I just don't understand. It's happening before our eyes. It's happening in the news, and people don't seem to care. I'm not saying people that agree with me that want Trump, but people that are never Trumpers. This is happening. The crime against our people, where sometimes they're raping and killing our children, our girls, our children, our people. The story of Laken Riley. What's the backstory to that? The backstory was this illegal immigrant was caught. He was in New York. He was caught. He had some crime against a child. He was put in jail on their liberal, crazy, socialist, leftist bail reform laws, where he got to get out free because he didn't try to murder someone, something super violent. So he gets out free on bail. It was resolved. They dropped the charges or whatever and gave him a work permit. And so then he goes to Georgia, visits his brother, and while he's down there, this girl, Laken Riley, had all these aspirations to in her life, He goes onto her campus, and I'm not sure if he rapes her, but he murders her due to the fact that our immigration system is absolutely broken because of the leftist and Democrat policies. Do we care about stuff like this? Sorry, my voice is getting dry, but do we care? What about the Never Trumpers? Do you care about stuff like this? I think the normies, when the more they hear this stuff, they're like, whoa, 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 this can't happen. This can't happen. And last but not least, what is the biggest threat with the border? It's terrorism. People from over 100 countries, this has been testified in Congress, from over 100 countries are coming across the border. People from the terrorist watch lists have been caught. Think of how many terrorists have not been caught. All it takes is for them to have one successful terrorist attack, and thousands, if not more, hundreds of thousands of people could be dead. And that the blood would be on the hands of all of those that supported the open borders. Not just Biden and Harris, but all of those who supported open borders. That is a serious business. That is a real threat to our, not just our democracy, but just our very country. The border is important. So, except for the partisan Democrats and the partisan Republicans, if we take them out of the picture, those that are going to vote for Kamala, those that are going to vote for Trump, you got those two people. We'll take them out of the picture. I think we got two basic kinds of people. We got the normies, and we got the Never Trumpers. The Never Trumpers, I believe, I'm talking to you right now. For whatever reason, you have this Trump derangement syndrome, this TDS, and it blinds you to all the bigger picture, the people that are under threat, like I just explained with the border. It blinds you to all of these things, and to the point where you got conservatives that have, like Liz Cheney, that voted 90-some% with Trump, but will come out and say, literally she said, that I proudly support Kamala Harris because Trump is such a danger that I'm going to proudly vote for Kamala Harris. I'm not saying all of you that are Never Trumpers are voting for Kamala Harris. That shocks me that anyone would ever do that. But the fact that you are so much against Trump that you refuse to use the power that God has given you, the slice of Caesar's power, if you will, to vote for some throwaway candidate, some third party or nobody, because you just can't stomach Trump's crudeness, his name calling, da 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 da. But yet he has proven that he loves his country. He has the courage to stand and fight for it, even when his life is being under threat and almost killed twice. He'll still stand. He'll still go out every day and fight to do what he believes is right to save this country. You got to respect that. You got to respect that. He's warning about these things, and they're true. Trump exaggerates. He uses hyperbole. He's accused of lying because of it. And sure, he lies just like any other politician. But at the end of the day, his points that he's trying to make are true. They're very real, and it's common sense. If you've got Trump derangement syndrome and you can't stand Trump so much that you're not going to vote for him, I will submit to you that you do not have common sense. You've thrown your common sense aside. You're literally actively sticking your head in the sand because you don't want to know what's going on. You don't want to know about the people that are dying and being killed by illegal immigrants that are, maybe it was a criminal that was let out of a jail in Venezuela and they've come up here and they murdered one of our children. You don't want to know. But when it happens in your community around you, you're gonna find out. You're gonna have to have your head torn out of the sand. And God forbid it should ever happen to you or someone in your family. Then you would care, right? Then you would care. Well, how selfish is it for you not to care, for you to hate Trump so much, for you to despise him so much that you know that he will shut down the border like he did before. Yet you will not vote for him when people are dying as a direct result of his opponents getting into office. People, it may not be your children, but it is selfish to not care about your fellow citizens when you can do something to stop it. I'm going to just leave it there. That's what I believe. I'm challenging you to pull your head out of the sand and start listening, start looking at other sides, other news sources, other conservative news sources that you haven't heard from before. Because you need to look at the big picture. Stop looking at the little tiny tree that's dying in the forest, and instead of looking at the whole forest and seeing the danger to the forest fire that's coming towards the forest. Yeah, Trump's got these issues, these little issues. You can say they're big, but he's one man that's going to be here for maybe just 4 more years. But the impact that he is going to leave on this country is going to last for decades. And yet we got Democrats that will be there for 4 years, and the impact that they will leave will last for decades. And you won't vote for him because you can't stand his mouth. I don't know what to say. I got nothing for you if you cannot see common sense in that situation. And then you got the normies. Thank God for the normies. It's just the regular old people. They don't really like Trump's mouth, but yeah, they don't like the inflation that's going on. They don't like the open borders. And the more they hear Kamala, the more they're waking up and saying, this is not going to fly. I can't do it. I can't vote for her. She's going to lead us into World War III without even meaning to. She laughs about everything. This joy is a ploy. And we are in trouble. They're waking up and they're realizing we cannot vote. As much as we might not really like Trump, or maybe we like some things about Trump and other things we don't, we can't vote for Kamala Harris. This doesn't play in Peoria. It doesn't play in Peoria, Illinois. It doesn't play in Peoria, Arizona. It doesn't play in any place in this country that has just got a bunch of normies. It doesn't. And so the normies are waking up and the dam is starting to break. And you never Trump people, you're going to be left behind. When this red wave comes through, you're going to be seen. History books are going to see you as the ones that were out to lunch. See you as the ones that were uncaring and uncompassionate and unfeeling. Because to vote for anything other than Trump in this situation, in this scenario, I just don't think to know the truth. If you know the truth, you know what's going to happen, and you still won't vote for him, I don't see the compassion in that. I don't. So I'm encouraging you. Yeah, you could call it a rebuke. We all have things that we do wrong, right? I do too. And if I'm doing something wrong, you can call me out on it, and I'll give you reasons if I'm not, and if I am, hopefully I have the humility to just wake up, consider, and repent and change and confess that and change my course. Just wake up. Just wake up. That's all I ask. Thanks.